You just got a brand new GameCube. It might not even be new. It might be pre-owned. You know, you might or might not have a memory card for it. You might have had to just leave it on perpetually until you finish the game, because if you don't and it shuts off or you lose power, you'll have to completely redo the game. Remember those days? I certainly do. While there weren't very many games released for the GameCube, it definitely had some bangers, and one of which, Need for Speed Carbon. Now, this wasn't the only Need for Speed for the GameCube. There were actually a few. I believe there was at least Underground and Underground 2 that also released for the GameCube. But Need for Speed Carbon was my very first Need for Speed. It was a very solid entry into the franchise. It was so strong. It immersed me so much, so well. It was a very good game. If they would remaster this game, it would be instant money, I'm telling you. So, I'm not really a fan of like the cutscenes or just the way they present it, but it was a style for the game, like their design. That's how they wanted to do it, right? You know, they'd have the bosses in the separate areas that you'd have to fight. That was an interesting mechanic for sure. It wasn't, when I go back and I think about it, it actually didn't take that long to beat the game. But whenever I was a kid, it felt like there was so much in this game. I was amazed at the fact that you could knock down that giant donut and like it actually moved and it was part of the environment. It was crazy, man. If we could have that sort of stuff in newer games, just that level of attention and detail and care, then we wouldn't be having the problem with the video games that we currently are having, which, yeah, we are having. It might not have looked the best graphically. Of course, there's a lot of games that when we look back at them look worse, but I mean at the time, of course, they looked fantastic, right? This was one of those games. I know, it was at night, you know, a lot of the time it was raining. That's like, you know, reflections look, yeah, I know. But still, it looked great for the time. I liked the GUI. In any case, there was some motivation for this game. You come back after so many years, so it does something different. It establishes you and it says, oh, well, these characters know you, but you don't know them. So it kind of throws you into this world, and you know, you just have to get used to it really quickly. It's a different dynamic, not something that everybody's used to. Usually it's just, you slowly get introduced to everybody, but here there are these preconceived relationships, and you just have to quickly figure out where you're at. To me, I know that there's different classes of helpers you can have. That there's the Dodger, there's the Scout, but I mean, I honestly, man, I never really had the heart to get rid of Neville. I know he was the very first one, but I just loved his personality and the way he interacted with you and the other NPCs. I didn't have the heart to take him off the roster, man. Neville was my fucking go-to, man. All right, you ride or die, motherfucker, for sure. So, I couldn't do it. I really couldn't. Some parts of the game were definitely hard. I didn't like the time trials. No, that's a lie. Some of them I did, but some of them I definitely didn't. It definitely kind of stood out to me the most, though. The other ones are just generic, bland, boring races. Then you had the time trials. Then you had the drifting events. The drifting, I like the drifting. Trying to hold different drifts for as long as you could without breaking it and chaining them and whatnot. That was fun. Although some of them were definitely hard, trying to hug those corners. But I don't know. Looking back, it really didn't have that much variety. At the time, it really did. Maybe it's because just how much video games have changed. Maybe our expectations have changed as well. But back then, I think there was actually a fourth mode too, but I remember those three specifically. And then, of course, if you wanted to be a completionist, you could go back and try and do it as best as possible, but that wasn't for me. If I completed it, I may or may not go back. Usually 90% of the time, I didn't go back. But if I felt like I could absolutely positively do it better, then I would. That being said, though, I think there was only like what 3, maybe 4 or 5 hours of total gameplay if you're not doing like a long play type thing. But like I said, there wasn't much in the game. It had a great atmosphere, though. I'll tell you that. I like the story. I like the atmosphere. I don't know why they decided to make it just perpetual night and not have, I guess, for the feel, the setting. But I don't know. Maybe the setting is just that it's supposed to happen all in one night or some shit. No, that would be stupid. You could have the garages and customization and different bosses and whatnot. So, and the different bosses were definitely an interesting part of it too. I don't think the new Need for Speed games do that. So, that's another one of its strengths. But I haven't really played new Need for Speed games. They've kind of fallen off, man. After Hot Pursuit, Underground 2, they really Most Wanted. I remember Most Wanted definitely, briefly, but definitely. They just kind of fell off, man. Underground 2 introduced me to one of my favorite musical artists, Atmosphere, and that was another big part of my childhood. I've recently rediscovered them. I was like, hold on, I've heard this before. But yeah, man, it was crazy. Usually, the people who pick music for these games, like, it fucking sucks. But that was one exception for me, at least. 90% of the time, the music fucking it blows. It's not the target demographic, you know what I mean? So it just fucking sucks. Like background noise, but no, that was it for me, man. It would be nice one day to see a remaster. Maybe not even a remaster, maybe a remake. A remake would be fucking exceptional top grade shit. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but Criterion, EA, like I said, man, they would be absolutely missing out if they didn't do this, because it was like their most defining game. You can ask anybody, and they would say Carbon. If you're looking for a game to play, a racing game, an old school game, you want to get into retro games, this game doesn't even feel like it's that old. The graphics still hold up to this day. I know it's a stereotype. People always fucking say that. I hear it a million times, and then it looks like shit. But I mean, this game really does. It really does. All right. If you want to play a game that doesn't suck, play this game. Honestly, I've been looking for something to play, and I might even go back to it myself. It's been so long. I've been wanting a good game. I might even, it's just, I know a lot of it's nostalgia for me. I know a lot of it's nostalgia for other people because it's in the past. They've never followed it up with a sequel or anything, but it hits differently. Okay.